It's the Finnish Football Show. I'm Mark Wiltshire from Explore Finland. Thank you for joining us for FFS 9, which is kicking off approximately 36 minutes later than advertised because, yet again, the Finnish Football Show had technical problems. I'm joined tonight, as always, by Mark from FC Suomi. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
There he is. And also by Rich from Escape to Suomi. Hi, Rich.
Hello.
We're recording this one live on Google Hangouts. It's going out live somewhere on YouTube. And what you'll see on the screen is that every time one of us speaks, then our faces will appear on the screen. And I'm looking particularly red because I'm very flustered at trying to get this technology to work. We've somehow managed to get more people in this live recording than we were expecting. But we're now live, and for the podcast, this will seem almost seamless. So thanks for everyone that's watching us live. As before, we want some input. If you're watching us live, you should be able to add messages. We can see messages. There's a group chat for those that are on the call. Maybe I can ask one of the other presenters, Mark and Rich, to perhaps log into the actual YouTube link and see the comments that people are putting on there.
I'm in now.
You're in there now. Okay, that's there. So if I can rely on you to find any questions that come on there, that would be great. And anyone listening on the podcast, if you can use social media to contact us and give us your comments, that's at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, and at Escape to Suomi. Someone on here's got some background noise. Who's that?
Me, I think it's Yen. Hang on. Yen? Yen?
Yes.
We're picking you up a bit up here. You have to switch it down or turn it down. Okay.
That's marvellous. Well, that voice, everyone, was our today's special guest. So the first thing I'll say is the normal warning. Rich, no noisy biscuits, no F-bombs. We want to keep our child-friendly rating. Episode 4 is going to be in 9 parts. Episode 9 is going to be in 4 parts. But we're not going to start with the news. We're going to start with our guest, who's introduced himself, kind of. Simon Gray. Thank you, Si, for joining us today.
Hi, Mark.
Now, Simon is going to be talking to us about some recent events in Cup Final, which is Finland's 3rd level of football. He played in the recent 8-0 defeat by his team Birkia, and that got some of the listeners to the show and some of the presenters rather excited. Rich, I think, was tweeting quite happily about the scandalous scores that were going on in Cup Final on that day, because there was also a 16-0 defeat going on up in Lapland. So I asked Simon to come on here. We wanted to talk to you about this, Si,
Yep.
but we're not going to tease you too much. But there was a I thought a really nice story that you kind of made your professional football debut a couple of weeks ago.
Well, yeah, I guess if that's what you want to class it as, yeah.
Or was it not very professional?
Well, as professional as it can be, yeah, I guess it was.
So tell everybody how old you are and to have made your debut here in the Finnish league.
Well, in September I turned 50.
See,
So sorry.
I saw Rich's tweet, and there was this story about the defeat, and then the next day he said, and they only had 10 men, and I thought, well, that's Simon's team. Surely they could have enlisted him to make up the numbers. And then the next day, Rich, a 50-year-old man, had made his debut in this game, and I thought, okay, this needs some investigating. So tell us a little bit more about how it came about. What's your connection to Virkia, and how did you come to play?
Well, first of all, I'm a coach for the under-12s, and then through that, I kind of got an interest to start back playing again. So then I started playing for the Virkia senior team, and I guess anyway, I kind of go to the gym and keep myself in really good shape anyway. And as I was playing in the senior team, I wanted to keep myself and get myself fitter and fitter. And then before I knew it, I found myself in a position where I was too fit for the senior team. too fast. And there was an opportunity to play for the Virgia Edustusjoukkue, which is the Lapua first team, or one of the Lapua teams, should I say. And I kind of volunteered. I heard they had a shortage of players, so I volunteered myself to, if they needed players, I could come and play. So,
and this was the first time. This was the first time they had to take you up on the offer.
Yeah, they were desperate.
There were some beautiful action shots, and I must say that all of your English friends that are over they're over here that saw it. I think we were all quite proud of you to see you.
Oh, thank you.
Rich, what you were most excited about this? I think on Twitter anyway. What were your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, it's a strange one because Simon's essentially lived the dream, and why most men of our age loiter around clubs in the hope that they're short of players one day. And I work at a non-league club in the UK, and I just happen to keep my spare football boots in the boot just in case. Yeah, I mean, it was just the story. It sort of, as it emerged that FC Santa Claus had 3 goalkeepers playing for them at the same time, and still conceded 16 goals. You had obviously Virkia were, and both teams are unfortunately not doing too well in the table, but struggling to put 11 out. And I mean, it was just one of those things that we always say only in Finland, but it does seem to happen only in Finland quite a lot.
Have they asked you back, Si, to make a second appearance?
Yeah, they were actually quite impressed with how I played. So yeah, they want to keep me on the roster, apparently.
Good to see it. So everyone that's out there, keep an eye on Virgia in the Finnish Cup division, and let's cheer Simon on to the end of the season. But I did promise you, Si, that we weren't going to just get you on here and take the mickey, and we're not taking the mickey. I think we're genuinely very, very impressed that you're in a condition to get out there and do it. But I know that there's a nice connection between Virgia and Liverpool. You've got your Liverpool shirt on there. Yeah. Maybe you can tell everyone else what the connection is and what's been going on between the two clubs in the last few years.
Well, basically, we've been fortunate enough to be able to hold or invite the Liverpool Football Academy to Lapua for the last 2 years. We held it this year and also last year, and it's been a great success for our small, we'll call it a city, but in English terms, it's a small village. And it's been a great success. We've had a lot of children come from all over Finland. It's been really exciting for the children, of course, getting professional coaching, and it's been a great way to put Lapua Virgia on the map, so to speak.
How was that connection made in the first place?
I think what happened is last not last year, but the year before, it was held in Vaasa, and I was speaking to the organizer in Vaasa, and they were saying they're not going to hold it on the following year. So obviously, I sort of asked for the details. I presented it to our football club. We got in contact with the Liverpool Academy, and lo and behold, we were offered the chance to hold the Liverpool Academy at Lapua. And that's how it came.
Fantastic. And you got to hang out with some of the Liverpool Academy coaches as well.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and we also last year at the end of the coaching sessions, we got to play against the Liverpool Academy as well, which we beat actually 8-6. And I was playing in that one.
Nice.
So it's not all doom and gloom. And these guys were good.
Mark, Mark or Rich, anything from you guys? I wait for a delay. There's not a delay. So I go on, Mark. Go on.
Okay. I've got a question actually. We've noticed that Liverpool have quite good connections to Finland anyway. They're one of the historically most popular clubs. Do Liverpool enjoy having these academies as much to extend their fan base, do you think, as much as experience for the kids?
Yeah, well, I think it's a two-way situation for Liverpool. Obviously, they get to increase their fan base. It doesn't seem like too many of the other Premier League teams are sort of exploiting the marketplace in Scandinavia. So Liverpool sort of, creating a niche for themselves.
Yeah.
So it's very, very good for their fan base. And also, obviously, they get to, probably explore new talent as well. If the possibility of finding new talent is in Scandinavia, they've probably got their foot in the door, so to speak, and got first choice. So I think it's a two-way situation for them.
Yeah, sorry, I think I froze out there a bit, but I was just going to ask, did anybody catch the eye? What's the general impression of the Liverpool guys when they come over?
Yeah, I think they're fairly impressed. Yeah, I especially from what the Finns do have going for them is their temperament. When they play football, they've got a fantastic, temperament. They seem to be very good at, in decision-making processes. They're not affected by, rush of blood or hot-headedness, and I think that's a real advantage that the Finns have over, players from other countries.
I'd imagine particularly when Liverpool rock up, because how kids are. You know what I mean? When they find out a big Premier League club or somebody with the liver bit on the chest comes over and they want to give their best and give their all, it's quite easy for tempers to flare and things to get a bit out of hand. So,
yeah, it didn't happen at all over here. In actual fact, the kids were excellent. They were very controlled, very calm. But again, you can expect that from Finnish children, I think. They're very composed and take things in their stride.
Are you hoping this is going to happen again, Simon, in future?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit open at the moment. We haven't quite, discussed, what's going to happen for next year. But if we don't bring Liverpool in, we're going to bring someone else in. That's certain.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's kind of an open situation at the moment.
Good stuff. Keep up the good work.
Yeah,
I can't let you finish talking about Virkia without you telling us about your meeting with a Finnish football legend a couple of weeks ago. What was that all about, and how did that come about?
Well, to be honest, because I coach an under-12s team, we had an invite from the Finnish Football Association, if you like, Paloliitto, for the coaches in the Piirisarja, which I'm a coach of, to attend training sessions for the Finnish national football team under 17 level.
Nice.
So obviously I gladly took that invite up and went to watch and make as many notes and try and learn some new stuff as I can.
And who did you meet? Tell everybody.
Well, I was fortunate enough to meet one of my heroes, Jari Lipmanen.
And did he recognise you as the 50-year-old that just made his debut?
No, he didn't. But some of the Asi core guys were mentioning about it.
Okay.
They mentioned that heard that I played.
Nice. Simon, Julian just made the comment that apparently Liverpool have just announced the signing of a 50-year-old hard-tackling defender. Any truth in that?
I just hope the price is right, Mark.
Yeah. How much is your wife Yenny prepared to let you go for?
I don't know. She's my agent, so we're going to have to,
Okay, let's negotiate.
If we can come out with, come up with an agreement.
That's good. Simon, I hope that was not too much of an ordeal for you. Thank you so much for joining us and sort of sharing a few of those stories for us.
No, not at all. It was fun, Mark. Thank you.
And if people want to hear a little bit more about your club, what's the website for your team?
It's obviously if you just go to Google and put in the window there, Virkia Football Club or Virkia Jalkapalloa.
And Virkia is spelled Virkia.
Yeah, with dots over the top. But well, you can put it in English A as well, and it'll come up with it, I would guess.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Feel free, Simon, to hang around and listen. I'm gonna silence you, but I'm not gonna cut you off. So if you want to hang around and listen, you're welcome to. And we're going to crack on with the next part of the show.
Okay. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye, all.
Bye-bye. And the next part of the show is the news. And I've done enough talking for now. So, Mark, why don't you talk, Mark, about...
That's Jules. Okay, I think we're clear.
I think we are. I'm trying to do the whole mute thing, but yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's move on to the next section, which is the news. And I've done enough talking, so Mark, why don't you start us off? Now, this is, as everybody that listens to this knows, Mark's told me what his news story is going to be, but I'm quite prepared that he's found something else in the last 5 minutes that he wants to talk about. But Bacca's watershed moment.
I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to stick to the script this time.
I can hardly believe it.
I can. I am. So So Hans Bacca and his watershed moment. So I think it was about 2 weeks ago. Bacca he gave an interview in Swedish at a training day to the Pohjalainen newspaper, and in that one, I think they talked for about 15 minutes, and they went through different styles of coaching and different. The level of players and the differences in cultures between Swedish football and Finnish football. And then right at the end, they asked him about being Finland manager. And his comments were, I don't know, I would say quite sensible, which was that he said basically that, no manager can survive, for a year without winning a football game. No manager can go on for an extended period of time without winning. And so Pohjalainen, they took the interview and then they put it up online, and they took his quotes and basically said that, essentially Bacca had about 2 games to go, which is, in the transcript of what was said, pretty much exactly what he had said, which is that if he lost against Iceland and if he lost against Croatia, that would be it. He'd be out. But then after the article was published, it was quite strange in the sort of Bacca himself reacted to his own statements and said, well, 2 games or 3 games is not enough for any manager in terms of competitive football to think about ending his career. And it was a bit of a strange turnaround because in general, I didn't think when I'd read the first interview in the transcript that there was anything really that massive or major in the headline. Of course, the headline was a bit sensational, which is that Bacca has a watershed moment coming up against Iceland, which is that if he doesn't win, or if he loses in particular, the qualification campaign is pretty much over, which is true, and he'll probably have to move on, which again, I think is fairly reasonable for any manager to assume. But what struck me was, first of all, Bacca sort of retracted it and backtracked, and then sort of said that 2-3 games isn't enough and he's here for the long haul. And then Lucas Hradecky, who'd previously criticised the kind of preparation ahead of the Kosovo game, also came out and said that the players needed to bear the brunt of the blame for the failings of the team on the pitch, and you just sort of had to think that it was a really strange and quick and well coordinated response to what was something that I think should be really inherently okay. And the bit that worries me the most is that like we mentioned last time, we all saw that Mixu was not the right guy for a very long time, and nothing really happened in the Balolito level. They decided to not take any action and not take any responsibility in terms of letting them go. And I think it seems to be the sort of same driving motivation behind the communication strategy again, which is that they're not going to take any quick or hasty decisions, even though we've been essentially a year already without a win for Finland.
Okay, that was on message and as planned, Mark. And of course, we'll find out whether those watershed moments come in the next few days, because there's the game against Iceland is tomorrow, and I think that friend of the show, Keke, is probably on his way out there already to drink through the show and through the game and remember nothing. But he'll come back and tell us everything that he can't remember, which is always worth listening to.
I don't know. The beer's pretty pricey over there in Iceland, so you never know.
Yeah, true that. Keke, if you're listening, we are looking forward to hearing this. So do a good job for us. Rich, you going to talk about the Finnish second division, or as it's known over here, Ykkönen.
Yeah, basically, is some of it will lead on to the Veikkausliiga stuff later on. But there's 2 games left of that season, and there are still 4 teams which can go up, all of whom have been in Veikkausliiga in the last 6 years. And it's actually very close because Keke's team, JJK, forgive my pronunciation, basically bottled their game on Sunday. They could have virtually sealed automatic promotion, but they lost. And coming up, we've got JJK, who've got 46 points from 25 games. TPS, who only went down a couple of years ago, they've got 45 points, and they play AC Oulu, who are third in their next game. AC Oulu then play in their final game, JJK. And below that are Yarrow, who seem to have just about eked enough points together to still got an outside chance of it. But the thing that I think a lot of people are looking forward to more than anything is the fact that TPS, if they finish second, will be in the playoff for next season's Veikkausliiga. And at the moment, the team that they would play is their city rivals Inter Turku, which would be spicy to say the least.
Yeah, Turku derby for promotion.
Yeah, the last couple of times they've played have been in the Suomen Cup, and they were pretty tasty in the end. Red cards and all sorts. And TPS, I wouldn't say they went out, but they were in a lot of financial trouble at the start of the year and had to do one of those online Kickstarter share issues and raise 300,000 euros. And they've got Mikko Hirvonen, who scored 14 goals this season. He turns 39 next month, and he's just signed up for another year. So he's doing well for himself. They'd need to spend a bit of money. They've got obviously a good youth system, but whenever they bring kids through, they seem to get poached pretty quickly. But with 2 games left and JJK playing Oulu on the final day, it'll be good, and it'll be nice to see a couple of the bigger clubs representing the bigger cities back in the Veikkausliiga.
Oulu's where.
Sorry, Marco.
Yeah, I was going to say Oulu's where. Is it Marko Heikkinen? Is that where he ended up?
Yes, yeah, he's been playing there this season. He's done all right.
37, 38, something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, he's the twilight of his career, but he's we dress this up. He's using his experience.
But I mean,
I think we've established that age 37 is nothing if you can be making your girlfriend at 50.
But I think it's well, even if it's not TPS, it's then it'll be Oulu that take that sort of third or one of the playoff spots. And I think even that the AC Oulu Inter Turku derby is usually also a pretty feisty affair, so that'd be pretty cool.
My news story. Rick, looking at the picture, it looks like Rich is in a disco. I don't know. I'd like to know what he's watching.
Oh, it's an advert on telly. Hang on, let me turn it off.
Yeah, it looks great. Parties at your place.
It really is.
My news story, as ever, centres around happenings going on at Seinäjoki, and I am going to talk about the Suomen Cup Final, because that leads on nicely to the next section of the show. But I just thought something that came up yesterday was the fact that SJK's player Jussi Vasara, who in his second season now with SJK has been really, really important in scoring goals and just a general all-round play, linking up midfield and attack, and has decided to retire at the age of 29, partly because of family considerations, and partly because he wants to get into kids coaching. And I think we were all a little bit surprised when we heard that the other day. Disappointing, but his life moves on. SJK will move on. I was looking forward to trying to keep the squad together, because it's finally started to play some quite good football, as we saw in the Suomen Cup Final. I think that what's happened recently is SJK have started to find a way to beat teams that are making life difficult for them. There was the home game against Kups last Wednesday. It was a 1-0 win. It was a deserved win, but it wasn't easy. And I think that's probably a similar comment for the Suomen Cup Final. It definitely wasn't easy. It went to extra time. It went to umpteen different penalties before being won, by a friend of the show, Mehmet Hettemay. So big up to Mehmet. And they're finding ways to where they would have let things slide previously and sort of got a draw or even a late defeat and turning those into victories. And I think that's really important, especially now with just a few games to go. We'll come into kind of what we're expecting and hoping from Veikkausliiga soon, but I think that the Suomen Cup Final gives us an opportunity to talk a little bit about what's going on at HJK. Mark, what are you noticing going on down there this season?
So the cup final was a good game. It was a really good game, and it was. You mentioned Jussi Vasara and Mehmet Heitamai. They did amazingly well in the middle of the pitch. But I think it's a bit. HJK seem a bit strange at the minute because I think in both the Suomen Cup final and maybe we'll talk about it later, but in the Stadin Derby, they did enough. They really sort of should have won both of those games. They played well enough. They moved the ball around quick enough. They got themselves into dangerous areas, like a lot of times. But for some reason, there's something missing about HJK, and I can't quite put my finger on it because they see, it looks from the distance, it looks like they're doing everything right. But when it really comes down to sort of the crunch time, they don't deliver. And I mean, you can't really blame, for example, Ville Jalasto, who's been fantastic this season at centre-back, for missing the penalty because he's a centre-back. But at the same time, it's a bit mind-boggling that they get themselves into these situations, and then really, when it comes down to the crunch, they somehow find a way to lose it.
What did we make of the whole furore around the Stadin Derby, the Helsinki Derby, HJK versus HIFK?
Yes, I mean, well, I was there, and hell of an atmosphere. It was a good game. HJK had, 2/3 or more of the ball, and generally they controlled the game. But it was a real Muurinen performance for HIFK, and I think as well, it was quite strange in that that's the way HIFK should have been playing all season. They managed to get Juho Mäkelä and Pekka Siivola to work as a front two, which was the kind of the plan, and they were pretty deadly. I mean, the finishing was really good from HIFK. They had, I think, only maybe 3 or 4 shots, and managed to score twice. But yeah, HJK, they like the ball. They like to calm it down. They like to knock it about, but they don't really have a cutting edge, at least from what I can see.
What a noise, Rich! I think you tweeted this. The noise when HIFK scored the winner.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time that they've beaten HJK in a competitive game in 40 years, and the first in this is the 6th derby or league derby anyway since they came back up, and it's the first time they've won, and 4 draws and 1 for HJK. I think it's sort of systematic, really, of HIFK making a pretty bold decision to change manager. Honkavaro was, he obviously did well to get him up, and they'd only recently signed him onto a sort of full-time contract because he was a PE teacher in his sort of day job. But bringing in Muurinen, who has done so much in Finland and with HJK in particular, and he's got a team of he's got some experience in there, and they really earned that win. And going with everything that happened off the pitch, which was almost as talked about, mostly by me. There's so many arrests. There was a chap who lost half a finger. Kids on welfare notices, and the police really not coping as per usual. It's always a bit of an event, and it's certainly something that, if packaged correctly, could really sell Finnish football abroad. But I think they're still trying to find that balance between the spectacle and hosting a match safely. The Paloliitto yesterday or the day before said, they didn't rule out playing a game behind closed doors. They threatened that. They threatened it a number of times, pretty much after every game. This time they said, "Well, we don't want to see it, but it's still on the cards." They didn't rule it out. It's certainly a worry.
Passionate supporters. I've said it before. There is no place for passion in Finnish football.
No, I mean, how dare they make a noise? It should be treated like a night at the opera. But
I think we shouldn't sort of just forget the fact that there were some injuries there, and obviously there were some arrests, and we wish speedy recovery to anyone that was hurt, although potentially they were, I don't know, but potentially hurt by fireworks or flares in the ground that they may or may not have been holding themselves. I don't know, but that's get well soon anyway, whoever that was.
I just one thing to note about that. I mean, I think the attendance was plus. It was 10,000 plus that was in the stadium, and that's. I mean, it's for the Veikkausliiga. I think that'll be the highest attendance of the season. I think by comparison, the Suomen Cup Final had 2,500 people, which was, I mean, well, it was in the Ratina, so, and they didn't really. It's in a neutral stadium, which is far up north, so you can sort of understand it, and it doesn't have maybe the prestige that it should have, but there was not the match day experience, and the match day preparation was pretty similar to what it usually is in the Sonera Stadium. So there wasn't any like additional personnel or additional security checks or anything else, and the crowd was at least and more than double what it usually is. So I think the whole sort of preparation is a bit strange, and I think it's I sort of you get a bit disheartened because of course it's not on sort of the flares and the fights and the hilarious, but by the same token, to say okay, we're going to police it this way, and then the other option is that we'll have it behind closed doors, is a bit sort of heavy-handed. There's not real game management it's involved. I mean, it's just Rich could probably go on and have his say about it, but for me it was a bit. I don't know. I didn't like that statement because it's a sort of traditional Finnish approach.
I think we could dedicate a whole podcast to my stuff, so we might have to save that for another time.
Okay, so Julian's just made a comment that HJK was a bit similar to last year. They kind of started stronger but faded away after August. Is it to do with players concentrating on European football?
Did they start strong?
Well, they started better than they finished anyway, maybe.
Yeah, well, Oskari did a tweet recently where he was talking about how Lekkosuo's teams tend to start well and fade out, and it's been something that's happened certainly since his time at Honka as well. It's not just a HJK thing. I mean, this season their two best or certainly most influential players at the start of the season, Taiwo and Atom, were both injured, and I know Taiwo's back now, but he was their top scorer and he's a left back. Yeah. And Tanaka's come back, and so he's not going to come back. I don't think he'll play again for the season. And yes, they've missed him. And again, I know we said this about this time last year. They've had massive injuries, but it's just strange how the best run, the most powerful, well-funded, well-run club in the country seems to struggle to get a team together. When they're missing two big players, but they've got the resources to cope and at least, be consistent. And
they did bring in Pelvas a month ago, and he looked really good for, I think he's only played 4 or 5 games, but he's looked good since coming in. He just sort of didn't really get the sort of service. It was, he set up in a classical sort of Muurinen way. It was, it was 2 banks of 4, and they sort of barricaded the middle, and so there wasn't a lot of service. And HJK kept the ball around the edges of the box and in areas that weren't particularly dangerous. So, it was pretty predictable, but it was really effective football.
Maybe this is a good time to then move on to the rest of the Veikkausliiga and what we're expecting for the end. Do you have something to say, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, the only one small point that I would mention is if you remember last season, Freddie Lasas, he's on the bench, been on the bench quite a lot. Doesn't sort of fit into the Mourinho mold of disciplined and drilled banks of four. And I just wanted to make the point that it was effective football, and it was really good to see Makila and Sifola work as a front two, but the kind of casualty is Freddie in the middle of the pitch and his creativity. So because I mean I think about a year he had to move abroad that didn't work and he came back. But about a year ago he was pretty hot stuff, and now he's a little bit on the fade, which is a bit of a shame to see.
Okay, the question we posed by somebody in the previous episode, FFS 8, was: does anyone want to win this league? Well, I think it's now time for us to see if anyone does. And for a second episode running, I've done a little bit of research. So let me hit you with this, and then I'll throw it over to you guys. So let's start with the top of the table. So we've got 3 rounds of games remaining. So after this weekend sort of international break, there's three more games to be played, and they're kind of full fixture lists on Friday the 14th, Monday the 17th, and then the final games on Sunday the 23rd of October. And it's all getting really tight now. You've got 4 teams, the top 4 teams all separated by 3 points. And the season finale, that last game of the season, sees those top 4 sides all playing each other, similar to Ukkonen, Rich. And the thing that really struck me was that HJK play 3 games against the other 3 teams in the top 4. So just in order of their current league position, at the moment in first place is Mariehamn. They got 54 points, and they play in this order: HJK, Lahti, and then Ilves. Then on 53 points is HJK, and they play Mariehamn, then Ilves, and then SJK. Third is SJK with 52 points, and they play Lahti, Vanta, and then HJK. And then finally in fourth is Ilves on 51 points, and they play HIFK, then HJK, then Mariehamn. I tell you what, I wouldn't bet any of my money on that. The only comment I would make is that SJK have a slightly gentler run in to the end of the season, and if they can keep just churning through those results, they set themselves up for a really nice opportunity on the last game of the season. Whereas, of course, the other 3 teams are probably going to be nicking points off of each other one way or the other.
This isn't 100% research based, but let me think. The last time SJK lost would be August. Probably
right now, yeah, probably right.
At least. Who beat them? Probably HIFK beat them. HIFK beat them late August. That'll be the last time. So that'll be about 10 games-ish, roughly there and thereabouts, that SJK have gone without getting beat. Because, I mean, the run they've been on is first of all, phenomenal, and coincides quite well with Ojala's arrival.
Yeah, definitely. Well, actually, Ojala, Valles, and Aymar, all 3 of them, I celebrated this in the last game. I think that was probably the turning point.
Yeah, brought in a whole new defense. Yeah, so I can see SJK doing it. I can't see Ilves making it because I every now and again when I watch them, I can't sort of shake the feeling that they're a lucky team. And I mean, I suppose being a lucky team is probably better than anything else. But I don't fancy Ilves and HJK for some reason. They just seem like maybe it is a banner curse that they can't buy a win at the minute. So for me, it's going to be SJK.
Yeah, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. And obviously, anything from you, Rich, or should we move a little bit further down the table?
Well, no, I was just going to say that up until last Sunday, Ilves had it all in their hands to win, but they dropped points. It's just a bit of a shame, really, because after last year, and it's almost a year to the day since the Keke gate, as it were. They managed. They only drew 0-0 at Lahti, which pretty much scuppered their whatever hopes they had. I mean, I'll be honest. I was tipping them to struggle at the start of the season, and you know, I'm pleased to be proved wrong. But I think Manningham are at Hoiko next Friday. That's going to be fantastic. And but like you say, Asiko, they're playing Lahti, who, as we'll point out shortly, you know, they're about the only team who pretty much haven't got anything left, and Vanta, who are, it's about as much of a gimme as you can get there. And you know, then who knows, we'll come to the final day, and maybe like last year, we might have, you know, more than one game to keep an eye on the last day.
Seems that way, doesn't it? Yeah. I asked the question earlier before we started recording about the Europa League places. So Asiko get a place for winning the Suomen Cup, which means that there's one Champions League spot and 2 other Europa League places up for grabs. So how are those allocated now? If Asiko finish first or second, how do those places get allocated?
Well, if Asiko win the league, then they'll go into the Champions League.
Sure.
And then it'll be the top, well, second, third, and fourth who go into the Europa League. At the moment, the way this coefficient works, every Finnish team goes into the Europa League at the first qualifying round. Yeah, so anyway round it is, you'll have, assuming that Asiko finish in the top 4, it'll be one of those teams will be in the Champions League, and 3 in the Europa League first round. There's no fair play.
Sorry,
fair play place anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then looking further down the table, you've got Ilves on 51 points in 4th place, and then below them are Vepsu from Vaasa on 47 points. 6th is Rops from Rovaniemi on 45 points, and 7th is Kups from Kuopio on 43 points. So I guess they've all got a fighting chance with 9 points up for grabs of pushing into 4th place, which seems to be keeping them with all with something to keep fighting for.
Yeah, and also you've got the split in the table, which means that the way that it works with having an odd number of games is that if you finish in the top 6 this season, you get an extra home game next season, whereas if you finish in the bottom 6, you have to play the extra game away.
It's not quite the incentive of a place in the Europa League, though.
No, but I remember a couple of years ago, some teams actually did look at it and think, right, we have to, you know, it costs the money to host games. And some of them did look at it as almost a curse. But, you know, we're talking a few quid here and there, but, you know, that only in Finland.
The burden of having to actually bother hosting a home game when it's your job. It's the thing that you live for, yeah. It kind of leaves Lahti in 8th place on 38 points, as being pretty much the only team with nothing much to play for. They're safe from both relegation and from any sniff of success, which, I don't know, that may mean they're relaxed and under no pressure and perform, you know, confidently against Astikor and the other teams, or it might mean that they've already got their suitcases packed and they're just waiting for the season to end. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I wouldn't exactly, you know, I wouldn't refer to it as maybe a new news story, but Rafael, the Lahti striker, announced, I think, today that he's about to retire. So at least he'll have something to play for the next 3 games.
And his club are trying to find him a job with one of their sponsors. So judging by the amount of sponsors on the shirt, that's a wide range to choose from.
He's got, that's a lot of options. He's got a lot of options.
We haven't actually asked you yet, Rich, with all the excitement before the show and with having Simon join us earlier, what shirt are you wearing today?
Tonight I'm wearing, Matthew, a 1992 Mupa Cup Final shirt, which I somehow managed to find on eBay. It's got number 14 on the back as well. You can't really see it, but there you go. I was doing a bit of research on it in the run up to this year's Cup Final. I did a bit of looking into old bits, and this was as worn, not in the final itself, but when the trophy was given to Mupa in '92. And I guess at the moment we could probably say the artist formerly known as Mupa, but it's quite a rare one and oversized sponsor, but at least there's only one.
Let's talk about who might be the artist formerly known as Veikkausliiga teams. Those racking it out at the bottom of the table. So we can said already that Vanta in 12th, they've been doomed for weeks. The Veikkausliiga website says they got 16 points. Rich is saying that they've actually only got 10 points because
that has been updated. I spoke to Guru.
Has it? Okay.
Well done.
Yeah, that doesn't help me. I'm quite capable of making stuff look incompetent. I don't need the Veikkausliiga website helping me. While we're talking about Vanta, let's just give a shout out to Henry Hakamaki, Huck, as we call him, of this parish, who just wanted us to mention the PK35 Vanta ladies team that has just won the Finnish ladies championship. You've all gone silent. Is that all? Okay, let's do a round of applause. I did suggest online earlier this week that maybe they should have put the ladies team into the men's, but
I think they'd fare better.
Yeah, well,
be less fighting.
Just above them, there's kind of a three-way battle to avoid the Ukkonen relegation playoff. So below Lahti, who had 38 points in 8th, we've got Kemi in 9th with 34 points, Hifki in 10th with 32 points, and Inter Turku on 30 points in 11th. So it's kind of 3 games for those 3 to get themselves out of trouble, and it's Turku in the hot seat at the moment, which is getting Rich excited, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Inter looking, they've got 2 home games coming up next, and the first one is against Kemi next week, followed by Rops, and then away to Vanta. So, that's not the worst run of the 3. Obviously, they've left themselves a lot to do, but they've got a goal scorer who is scoring goals. Natsi Kuchi has continued where he left off at Vanta. And, while Shefki's come in and done his thing of tapping players up and all sorts of shenanigans, his brother's...
Allegedly.
No, he got the club got fined for trying to tap up Mehmet. Friend of the show, Mehmet. Yeah, no, his brother's come in and he's doing the business. And if you look at Kemi, they've done quite well throughout the season. Obviously benefiting from some lax paperwork on Ashiko's part at the start of the season. But, Hifki, that win over Hoiko last week, it suddenly proved to be vital because they were looking quite safe. And then Inter rocked up and beat Kups last week. And they're on a decent run, and at this stage of the season, 3 games left, momentum is everything.
Yeah, Jules has made the comment there that Kemi are dropping like a stone. I mean, there was a nice crowd of people, Astikor fans, went to the ground, to the Seinäjoki home ground, into the Carlsberg World bar, this big bright green bar that we've got there at the ground, and watched the game on TV. I know that Jules and about 14 other hardy souls made their way up to Kemi. I thought Kemi played okay. There was another game where they weren't easy to win. Astikor deserved it, but Kemi weren't bad. And then a couple of quick goals for Seinäjoki made it look quite convincing. It was, yeah, you're right, Jules. They're dropping down quite quickly. Whether they drop all the way down would be tough.
Kemi go on these runs though. They've lost 6 in a row, and that's the second time that's happened this season.
Yeah,
it's they have picked up points, and to get 34 isn't bad for a team that came up with a minuscule budget. But you just can't, even in this division, with you go down with Vanta. There is shame in that, and losing 6 on the spin twice, there's an issue.
For me, it's time to get your checkbook out because Kemi are going down. Like, I just, the thing about, like, you can say what you want about Shefki and the way he works, but this is basically what he does. Like, he turns up to places that need to fight, and he generally, hook or by crook, keeps them in the division. And I think it's next Friday, not next Friday, the Friday.
Have we lost him at that moment?
Is he gone?
We have.
That's not a flattering picture he's left us.
It's a very strange picture of Mark there now. So I think that he's saying that Kemi are going to drop. Jules is saying that they're
6 straight defeats. They can't buy a win.
Mark, we lost you there. We lost you there for a moment. I'm not sure if you're back.
All right. How much did you hear?
Why don't you go from Shefke rocks up and does his thing?
Yeah. So this is what Shefke does. He turns up and turns kind of ugly teams into ugly fighting teams that survive somehow by hook or by crook. And Kemi, like you said, 6 straight defeats. Can't seem to buy a win at the minute. They play Turku in Turku in the Friday after the internationals, and I fully expect Naji Kuchi to arse it over the line in a dirty 1-0 win. To put Kemi in the drop zone.
That they've lost Billy Irons. Seinäjoki signed Billy Irons in the transfer window, and he's banged in. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 goals, but they've been some significant goals for Seinäjoki, and I guess that's something that's been lost from Kemi.
Yeah, they are suffering big time.
Okay, well, watch this space. I think we decided we're not going to talk about the internationals this week because they're just about to happen, and maybe we'll get together after the internationals and just do a review of those, and then get together once more at the end of the Veikkausliiga season just to see how things lie when the dust has settled. I'm not likely to get this out in time for people to be reminded of this, but tomorrow, the 6th of October, is Iceland versus Finland, 21:45 Finnish time, and then Sunday the 8th of October is Finland v Croatia at the much more sociable time of 7 p.m. Finnish time, which is lovely. Watching football that kicks off around 7 o'clock when most games of any outside of the Veikkausliiga kick off at 10 o'clock at night is hard work. So thanks to everyone that's joined us live. I can see we've got about seven viewers. I hope that's not including all of those of us that have taken part in the show. I hope that's 7 additional viewers. Thanks to Mark from FC Suomi. Mark, just let everyone know what's the most recent article on your site.
The last one is about last weekend in the form of Huuhkajat going into the international break, but today or later on tonight, podcast listeners, will be the preview for the Iceland game. Okay, and that's at fcsuomi.com. That's right. And Rich, escapetosuomi.com, what's the most recent thing you put up there?
Well, the most recent thing I did was a bit of a look at that Kakkonen weekend that we had a good chuckle about earlier, and also linked to Nick Ames from The Guardian did an interview with Hercules coach Daniel Amikachi, which I helped out with. I've linked to that, and that's all over The Guardian as well. So, and Daniel said he might stay for another year, so we shall see. Okay, interesting. And Explore Finland is still on a bit of a hiatus. I'm actually working in the background to try and find a way to make it something that's a bit more regular, a bit more professional, and maybe gets a bit of funding behind it, which hopefully will also mean I'm more capable of making this Finnish football show a little bit more professional. It certainly can't be less professional than it was today for the first half an hour. That is consigned to history. No one's ever going to see it again. But we're here now. We got it. Don't limit that to the first half hour. I mean, we've been thoroughly unprofessional all the way through. For the previous 9 episodes as well. Yeah, that's quite true. Those of you that have stuck with us all the way through there, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us for this. The podcast will be coming out in a couple of days. Jules is saying, I think Jules is saying that we've been consistently unprofessional. I hope that's what he means. I appreciate the sentiments. To those that have listened to the podcast, hope you enjoyed it. And until the next episode of Finnish Football Show, goodbye. Goodbye. Bye. Yep.